It's the grab bag!
Oh shit. Here we go again.
I was there 10 years ago. Gamergate 1. I watched it. I remained neutral because at first I didn't know exactly what was going on. All of a sudden, all my favorite games journalists were making all these articles attacking lots of people. And then there were massive amounts of memes and other things going on. And I wasn't 100% sure at the time what was happening. So I sat back and I was like, I am simply going to watch. You had people like Total Biscuit and the Co-optional Podcast covering some things of it. And of course, even at that time, I thought Anita Sarkeesian was insane. And this is, of course, back when I was politically homeless after leaving being after going from being a Democrat to being an independent. And I'm going to try to not go too political, but the madness that came out from that and everything I was seeing is the reason I left being a Democrat. There was a lot of lies and other things being thrown around, but the thing was, there were bad people on the pro Gamergate side. But I should probably explain what Gamergate was. It started when a game developer, who we are going to leave nameless, although her name is probably blasted everywhere, she had released a game, and she wanted to get really good, scores. So she cheated on her boyfriend with several of these game reviewers, journalists, so she could get a better score on her game. Her boyfriend found out and posted it on social media with proof. This, of course, split the game's everything up because there were people who were really, really mad at the game's journalists for being so easily willing to lie about a game. And it started as ethics and ethics and games journalism, and places like Kotaku and all these other places have been attacking and putting out articles like gamers are dead, and they all came to bat for this particular developer because she had the right politics. And of course, the other side did have some bad actors, so don't get me wrong, it wasn't exactly a good thing. But the problem is that I guess you could say at this point, I'm pro Gamergate because of what they wanted to do. I'm not happy with everything that had happened, but in the end, pretty much everybody who was the anti-Gamergate side, they were all terrible. Doxers, liars, cheaters. I mean, literally had led to somebody taking their own life because of all this. And they got away, and for a long time, they were basically untouchable because it almost seemed like that side had won. But now, Gamergate 2 is starting to come into picture. And these games journalists, these bastions of whatever you want to call it, they are losing ground. They have lost ground over the last several years. I mean, at this point, BuzzFeed's gone and a bunch of others are gone, and they're all losing money, and less people are paying attention to them. So, Gamergate 2, what's going on? So, in case you haven't heard of Sweet Baby Inc., it's important to point out that this Sweet Baby Inc. is only a cog in the machine. And the people going after it and trying to act like it is the bane of existence, no, they are simply a cog in the machine. They are a group that's been hired to work on narratives for video games. And on paper, that sounds pretty good. But their purpose is part of the DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. The issue is that for all these regular business practices that, as I think it was a PC Gamer that came out and said that this has been a regular practice for several years, DEI is forcefully putting in all this. One of the problems is that equity is not the same as equality. And this push for equity is basically to make up for past wrongs, except these past wrongs were not part of this generation. They were from several generations ago when there were choices being made that affected people who were white. Well, and they're trying to act like this is the only way to fix it. Having quotas to have a specific number of diverse people is absolutely ridiculous. Having the I for inclusion and yet using it to not include groups of people is also ridiculous. And many companies don't need an outside console group like Sweet Baby Inc. or any of these others in this image I'm showing you here. These are all companies that do the same sort of consultation. Whether you want to boycott games or if you just want to be aware, they all are basically hired to do the same thing. And this is... Some people are trying to come out and act like this is a conspiracy, but BlackRock and other gigantic investment firms are pushing companies to use these in order to get loans through them, because these are some of the biggest financial institutions out there. Well, then comes along a guy on Steam, and all he did was create a group to keep track of the games that Sweet Baby Inc. has worked on. And he did not tell people that they had to boycott or not. He just simply was making it a public thing. And you see, when people are doing things that are sketchy or wrong, they don't want things to be taken to light. Because if it makes them look bad, oh no, it's the end of the world. You see, shining a light on these things, making it well known to the public, is going to make the public mad. And shortly after, this Steam group quickly reached over 200,000 members. And most of the games that Sweet Baby Inc. has their hands tied with have been terrible. And I mean, just recently the Suicide Squad game, that was abysmal. Alan Wake 2, which hasn't made a profit. Yes, Spider-Man 2 did make money, but it didn't make the amount of money Sony was expecting it to. Simply put, some of these choices are not good, mainly because these writers are not the best in the world. And it really has to be pointed out that these... I don't know. It's really annoying just to say that you have to hire an outside consultation group in order to hit the marks for the DEI that you want. So let's get to the next chapter of this. We have one of the lead writers at Kotaku, like clockwork, coming out and proceeding to attack, well, she wants to infiltrate the Discord group for this Steam group, and she puts out an article defending Sweet Baby Inc., which turns out that members of Sweet Baby Inc. were part of the doxers and other issues that came from Gamergate 1. So immediately we start seeing the whole "it's Gamergate 2, the journalists are at it again." And they're pretty much doing the same exact things they did 10 years ago. Only difference is they are no longer in their lofty strongholds, because the ivory towers that they used to live in are now rotten to the core and about to collapse. And it's about time that these journalists begin to lose their jobs because of the bullshit they've been putting out. I mean, they literally had articles complaining about Spider-Man working with the cops. So this gets put out there, and all of a sudden, Sony's second one doesn't have Spider-Man working with police as much or anything, when that's been a very common thing in the comics until recently. because all of a sudden people started having problems with police officers and they wanted to change things that had been the way they had been. So you have the creator of Sweet Baby Inc. literally in a video telling people to talk to their HR and marketing teams to scare them into hiring Sweet Baby Inc., which, you know, that makes you look good. You have the writer from Kotaku over here saying you can't be racist to white people. It gets worse. She literally told someone that she was not going to be accepted in a community because she wasn't white. Which, you know, I don't believe in the communist rewrite of the word for racism. The meaning of racism is prejudice against somebody based off of their skin, their ethnicity. It is not prejudice plus power. You see, if you do that, then when you go to other countries where white people are not the majority, well, then you can't be racist. Well, let's say in Africa, you can't be racist to white people there, but you can be racist to black people. Instead of just simply saying you can be racist to anybody, because racism's bad. And this particular writer, as you can see this tweet here, she's bad. She believes that you should be racist. I mean, there's no other way to point that out. If you say you cannot be racist to a group, that means that you are pro being racist to that group. And it is bullshit. And it's very tiring because this whole thing came from a professor in college about, at this point now, between 40 and 50 years ago, who wanted to win a bunch of debates with other professors but couldn't. So he came up with a way of changing the meaning of racism so he could win arguments. Literally, that is the reason that prejudice plus power, can't even talk, prejudice plus power exists, is because of a freaking professor wanting to win a debate. That's it. And so Gamergate 2 is now when people are going against the Sweet Baby Inks and Kotakus and PC Gamers and all these others. And the point is that forcing the DEI stuff is not the right way of going. You simply do this based off of meritocracy and equality. And yeah, diversity is great, but when you are literally going out of your way to only hire a quota, it doesnment make it work good. You hire based off of meritocracy, regardless of what the person looks like. And this is a big problem, as you can see in Hollywood, where all of a sudden the quality is dropping because instead of hiring for people who are qualified, they're hiring based off of people's identities. And that's a shame. Because it shouldn't matter what somebody identifies as. It should only matter if they're good at their job or not. And that is something that is now well into, you know, the Western gaming industry. It's all over television. It's starting to happen in companies. North Face literally just came out and did something incredibly racist by saying black people are not, like, comfortable being outside. And it's like, when I've gone hiking, I have never thought that. I have never had any of my friends who've gone hiking with me ever feel like that. Mind you, you know, having friends that aren't white that also go hiking and stuff, that's something to say. So North Face coming out and saying this is complete bullshit. And this is a problem. These little things have been mostly ignored for years, and they're at a boiling point now. And it needs to be called out and shown that the people who are saying these things are the racists. And Gamergate 2 is live. The only thing I can say is no targeted harassments, no harassing people. Just point it out. Let them bring it to themselves. Just like this Kotaku writer. That's all we have to do is show what they are already doing. and then we win.